Your nervous system isn't relevant only when you're feeling stress or anxiety. It also plays a central role in how you think, how you feel, and what you do. And when people are stuck, overwhelmed, reactive, or unable to do what they know would help them, they assume something's wrong with them, that they're the problem. But what's happening instead is that their nervous system is operating in a state that limits access to clarity, capacity, and follow through. So in this video, I'm going to explain how the nervous system works in a very simple visual way using the graduated cylinder model that I teach in my programs and book. And once you understand how different nervous system states shape what's possible for you, and many of your long-standing patterns are going to really begin to make sense. So welcome to the You're Not the Problem podcast, where the conversations help you understand your nervous system, your patterns, and the adaptations that have been running your life, so you can stop turning on yourself and start standing with yourself. In this space, we tell the truth about unwanted behaviors like emotional eating, overworking, people-pleasing, procrastination, and self-sabotage. We talk about what it's like to live with ongoing stress and overwhelm, how that state shapes your choices, your relationships, your health, and how to step into a lighter, more grounded, deeply authentic way of living. My hope is that every time you listen, you feel less alone, more compassionate towards your patterns, and more rooted in the truth that you're not the problem. You're the possibility. So let's start by laying down the foundation for this video and frankly for everything else in your life. It's your nervous system. Now, to help make sense of the nervous system and to help you to understand it a little bit better, I created a very simple visual tool called the graduated cylinder model. I use this model throughout my work because it gives us a clear way to understand how different nervous system states affect what's available to us in any given moment. So I created the model to be incredibly simple. It's not meant to capture every detail of the nervous system. It's really meant to help you understand how your system functions in real life, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed, reactive, shut down, or unable to follow through. So I do go into this model and teach it more fully in my book, You're Not the Problem, and the Overwhelm, Restore Energy, and Make Progress That Lasts. And I've made the introduction to that book available as a free resource that you can download in this video description if you're curious and you want to go deeper. So imagine your nervous system is a tall graduated cylinder, the kind that you may have used in high school chemistry class. Along the side are numbers 1 to 10. Okay, these numbers represent different levels of activation in your system. You can think of this as like your internal stress cylinder. The more liquid in the cylinder, the more activated your system is. And we'll use this model to help you recognize where you are on the scale, understand how that state influences your emotions, your energy, your thoughts, your behavior, and learn how to gently return to a place of regulation and safety. Okay, so thanks to the groundbreaking work of Dr. Stephen Porges and his polyvagal theory, we now understand that the nervous system moves between three primary states depending on both internal and external cues. Those states are the rest and digest, the ventral vagal, the sympathetic mobilization, and the shutdown, the dorsal vagal. So we'll take a closer look at each of these. First of all, the rest, digest, and connect, or the ventral vagal state, that's when the liquid in the cylinder is between that 1 to 3 range. This is the ventral vagal state, where presence and ease abound. I refer to this state as your home base because this is your natural state. It's the one that your system is always trying to return to. This is where you are meant to live the vast majority of the time. In this ventral vagal state, you feel capable, you're steady, you're clear, you're ready for what life is bringing, and you're capable of navigating it. You can breathe more deeply, think more clearly, and even find a moment of peace, even in the middle of chaos. And your body loves being in this state because digestion is optimal, your immune system functions well, your cells can heal and repair, sleep is restful, even everyday tasks just feel a little bit less burdensome. And you're able to stay grounded, not because everything is perfect, but because you've got the resources needed to handle what comes your way. Okay, in this state, your mind is open, ideas flow freely, and you become more emotionally available to others and to yourself. And the greatest part is this is the state where you have the most access to your expansive self, right? And that's really going to show up in what you're able to accomplish from day to day. Okay, so whether you're working, resting, creating, or connecting, things feel more aligned in this state. Life begins to feel more like something to meet with curiosity and care as opposed to something you have to get through. Now, as your nervous system becomes more activated, somewhere in that 4 to 7 range, okay, it begins to prepare you for action. Now, at the lower end of this spectrum, say the 4 and 5, you might feel focused and alert, even productive. And this is a great place to be for making videos, for meetings, for engaging in adventure or play. But as the activation builds to the 6 and the 7, we start to tip into anxiety, restlessness, hypervigilance. It can feel like you're preparing yourself for something, even if you can't name what it is. You might become impatient, irritable, scattered, and things start to feel like they're too much to handle. In this state, you might notice your brain is racing, your thoughts kind of spiraling. You might feel like you're bouncing from one urgent thing to the next, struggling to keep up and never really fully landing in what you're doing. Your to-do list really becomes overwhelming, and even simple decisions feel hard. Physiologically, this state of your system it floods your system with stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, and you're ready to run, fight, or power through, right? And if you stay here for too long, your health starts to pay, right? So with all of the energy going to defense, chronic stress can really wear down your immune system, affect your digestion, your sleep, and ultimately lead to disease of all kinds. This sympathetic state was designed for quick visits, not to stay there for long periods of time. Then once your cylinder gets past that 7 mark, it really begins to shut down. You might feel exhausted, disconnected, emotionally numb. Can feel like kind of moving through molasses or like I'm here, but not really. You might find yourself stuck on the couch, zoning out, binge watching shows, scrolling endlessly, eating for comfort, or just kind of simply staring off into space. And this isn't because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because your system has gone into power save mode. I lived nearly 40 years of my life in this state. It was how I handled hard experiences and challenge. Until I learned to navigate life's difficult experiences and my own emotions, my system shut down to protect me. It wasn't ideal, but it was the best I could do at the time. Shutting down in life is not a failure. It's a protective response. Because when the body doesn't believe that fight or flight will work, it doesn't know what else to do. And while this makes sense, staying in this shutdown state in the long term can be really deeply painful. It often feels like you've lost your spark. Depression, chronic fatigue, autoimmune conditions can take root here. And it's not just a mindset issue. The body literally shuts down on a cellular level in this state. Now, I talk a lot more about this shutdown state and how it shows up in the body in the 4th section of the book, You're Not the Problem. And I believe this state here is the hardest one to be in. I have so much compassion for those stuck there right now because of all of the fight or flight energy of the sympathetic state is still there, bubbling under the surface. But because you're in shutdown, you can't even respond to it. It's like having one foot on the gas and one foot on the emergency brake at all times. And if that's where you are, I know that's painful, but please know that with the right conditions, you can get out. I mean, that's what we're here to do together. So let me speak to the term a well-regulated nervous system, because you may have heard it, but not exactly understand what it meant. But now that you have an understanding of the states of your nervous system through the graduated cylinder model, this term's going to make perfect sense. So when your nervous system is flexible and well-resourced, it moves fluidly up and down the cylinder in response to life, right? You can rise to meet challenges and then return to calm. A common occurrence, like say a fender bender or a stressful deadline at work, it might cause you to go into the higher sympathetic activation. But if your system's well-regulated, you can easily return to home base after the threat is gone. When your system is overwhelmed for too long and hasn't had what it needs to return to calm, the cylinder fills and it stays full. You get stuck in high alert states, operating from survival without even realizing it. So what I want you to take away from the graduated cylinder model is this. If your nervous system is consistently living at a 6 or above, you're in survival mode. And survival mode is why you feel burdened and stuck with respect to certain aspects of your life. To have the clarity, the capacity, the follow through that you need to change and build the life you want, you have to shift out of survival mode, right? And what you need to shift out of survival mode is certainly not more pressure or self-criticism. What you need is safety. Your system needs compassion, care, and permission. That's how you begin to lower the levels in your nervous system cylinder and return to your ventral vagal expansive state. Now, let me pause here to explain one of the many reasons why survival mode really keeps us stuck, okay? If you've ever found yourself doing the exact opposite thing you promised yourself you wouldn't, snapping in a heated moment or doom scrolling late into the night, reaching for food or wine to de-stress, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In survival mode, willpower isn't available. When your nervous system cylinder is elevated in these ranges, your prefrontal cortex, or the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, foresight, impulse control, it goes offline. The survival brain, your limbic and midbrain structures, they step in to handle the immediate moment without regard to your long-term goals. It only cares about getting through the next 30 seconds with less threat, less discomfort, and less pain. So what works? So how to shift from survival mode into your calm, alive state is the question that I attempt to answer in the book. I explain that switching off survival mode or lowering the liquid in your cylinder requires 3 things: safety, capacity, and energy. Your ability to live a more expansive life does not come from trying harder. It comes from learning to cooperate with your nervous system instead of overriding it, and learning to speak the language of your body, not with words, but with breath, movement, awareness, and presence. This unburdening of your system, it's not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the version of you that has always been whole, just waiting for the conditions that it needs to rise. So here's your next step forward. Take a moment and gently tune into your body. Don't scan for everything. Just notice one sensation that stands out right now. It might feel tight, heavy, buzzy, numb, warm, or just hard to describe. And once you notice a sensation, gently ask it one or two of these 2 questions, right? How would you like to move? Or how would you like to be supported? So a tight or heavy feeling in the chest might want a hand placed over the heart. Anxiety or activation might want to wiggle, shake, or squeeze the cheeks or hands, right? A floaty or ungrounded sensation might want you to feel your feet on the floor and notice the ground supporting you. Now, there are infinite sensations and responses, so there's no need to, try to get this just right. This isn't about doing a technique correctly. It's about learning to listen and respond. Because over time, this kind of attuned listening helps your nervous system feel supported and understood. And that's what allows that access to a more regulated, connected state where clarity, capacity, and choice become available again. Now, if you didn't notice anything at all, that's okay too. Noticing is part of the process. So to summarize what we covered today, your nervous system is not something to override or fix. It is constantly communicating with you about what feels safe, possible, or overwhelming in any given moment. And when you begin to understand its states and respond to it with awareness rather than force, patterns that once felt personal or confusing, they start to make sense. So if something in this video was helpful to you, or even if it just simply sparked your curiosity, I invite you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing helps you stay connected to future content. It also helps the You're Not the Problem movement reach more people who need this perspective. You might also consider sharing this video with someone who needs to hear that they're not the problem. They're not broken. They're not lazy. Often understanding this is the first step towards real change. If you'd like support learning how to listen and work with your nervous system in a practical way, I've created the Inner Compass Toolkit. It's designed to help you build awareness, trust your internal signals, and begin responding to your body with clarity and care. You can find the link in the video description.